Hey everybody, I am Bill and welcome back to X-Plane 11. And today I'm going to show you the procedure for departing a Class Charlie airport. And we're going to be doing that in X-Plane 11 with PilotEdge for the purpose of doing it in X-Plane and PilotEdge. That being said, this is the exact procedure in real life as well, down to the frequencies. This is exactly how they do it at John Wayne in real life. So if you get this procedure down, you can hop in a real plane at that airport and do this. I don't want to say easily, but this is exactly how they do it. So there's a handful of steps here. If you're brand new to this, if you're brand new to PilotEdge, if you're brand new to the concept of departure procedures for this type of airport, which is again a Class Charlie, Class C airport. This will seem like a lot, but once you've done it a couple of times, it'll become second nature, and actually you'll be more comfortable doing this procedure than you would be on a non-towered, pilot-controlled airport. So what we're going to do is the first step is know where you are, which is kind of an easy thing to overlook when you're in the simulator because you do have freedom to move the plane around. Whereas in real life, you know exactly where your plane is or where your rental plane is. So you do, for PilotEdge, need to kind of be aware where your plane is parked. So that's the first thing. Second thing, obviously, we start the plane. We need to get the weather. We're going to get our clearance. Then we're going to taxi and run up. We're going to take off. We're going to I have departure, but it's basically you're on with SoCal departure, so your departure frequency, and then you'll be clear of the airspace. So we're gonna go through the steps here at John Wayne. You can replicate this at any Class C airport. It's going to be very, very similar. There might be a few differences to note, but those are all things that you can find out by looking at the charts. So the first thing is you need something to write with. You need a notepad. I have a little notepad here that I have for notes. And what I have on my notes is the frequencies I'm going to need, and then some spaces to write in my clearance procedure. So where you get the frequencies is you go to Sky Vector, and this is an aeronautical chart. So I have the Los Angeles TAC route chart up here right now. And you just go to the airport that you're departing from. So here's John Wayne. You just click this and pull up all of the information for John Wayne. This is everything you need to know about this airport. You've got arrivals and departure. You've got different random remarks. You've got services available, runway information, and then this is what we want to look at is our frequencies. So there is a lot of frequencies here, and it can be kind of confusing, but what we really need is this stuff up here. And again, the number one thing is you got to know where you are. So that's why I have that as number one, is where are you? So if we hop back to X-Plane and we go to show you the map of where we are. This is where we are in relation to the airport. So we're on the southeast side of the airport. If we go back here, this is kind of where some native real world knowledge might come in handy. This street right here is called Dove Street. So this parking area right here is referred to as Dove Street parking. But you can look around. You could say Atlantic. Just kind of depends on what references you have to let the tower know where you are. And every airport's going to be different, and some things might be called certain things that you might not know based off of a chart. Like this does not say Dove Street parking on any chart or anywhere, but it's something that they use at the real airport. Which you definitely don't need to know that kind of detail when you're flying in the simulator, but when you spawn your airplane on the ramp, at least X-Plane, it'll give you some sort of verbiage to describe the area, like West FBO or North GA ramp or something like that. So as long as you have that either written down or you know that name, then that's really all you need. So we know that we're in the southeast side of the airport. So then you can come here and we need to write down a few numbers. So ATIS is right here, so this is where we're going to get the weather. One of the ways you can get the weather. This is where you're going to get the weather in real life. There's another way that I'm going to show you for the simulator purpose. And then tower here, so we know that we're going to be departing from 20 left. That's the GA airport, and it's the GA runway, and that's the runway that's on the east side, which is the side of the airport facility that we're on. We're not departing from 20 right or 02 left, so we're not going to be using that frequency. We're going to be using 119.9, so I'm going to write down 119.9. And then you've got two ground frequencies. You've got an east and a west. So again, we're on the east side of the airport, so we're going to use the east. If we were parked on the other side, we would use that one. So that's all we need there. And then we need to know our clearance and delivery frequency. So we're going to use 118, and that is, so we basically went in reverse order. I need, well, ATIS is first, so we need the weather, then we need the departure, then we need ground, and then we go to tower. But we'll walk through that. So once I have excuse me, once I have those frequencies written down, so I can refer to them very quickly, then we can go back into the sim. So in real life, you would have all that stuff written down, probably ahead of time. You do your walk around, which we're going to skip here. And once you've done the pre-flight walk around and all the pre-flight checks, then we're going to go into the plane. And again, in the interest of time, I'm just going to start this thing up. If you are sim flying and student pilot in real life, highly recommend doing the pre-flight stuff every single time, unless you're pressed for time and you just kind of want to get the flight in for whatever reason. But getting in the habit of going through the checklist is definitely a good thing to do. But in the interest of time, we're just going to start it up. Hit our magic start button. And we're going to get these out of here. And it's my directional gyro little warning. We'll get that lined up. There. Okay. Make sure all the lights are on. Alright, so we know where we are.
San Bernardino ground, Skyhawk 1671 Quebec.
Turn that off right now. Oh, I can actually leave that on, but mute.
1671.
We'll mute him real quick. Okay, so we know where we are. We're at Dove Street. We started the plane, and now we're going to get the weather. So in order to get the weather, we can do one of two things. We can go to 1260, and we can get the ATIS, and X-Plane does have that service here.
Orange County, John Wayne, Skyline, Information Sierra.
Information Sierra.
Zulu weather. Wind 210 at 7, visibility more than 10. Sky clear, temperature 17, dew point -5. Altimeter 2989. Arriving runways 20 right, 20 left, departing runways 20 right, 20 left. Advise on initial contact. You have Sierra.
There's Sierra, so that's the weather. Now, I have a little bit custom weather. The winds and everything are real world, but I do have the cloud layer removed just for visibility purposes. There's another place that you can get that information, and it is at myflightroute.com. And this is for PilotEdge. And you go to ATIS Player, and you have the list of all of the ATIS information for the airports operated by PilotEdge. So if we go to John Wayne, and we can see here We've got winds 210 at 5, visibility 8, ceiling 2,300 broken. We have that removed. Temperature 18, dew point 14, altimeter 2990. So that's a little bit different than what the simulator said. And this is information Victor. So that's a little bit different. There's some discrepancy there because we have custom weather on. So in real life, you're going to read back exactly what the ATIS frequency tells you. And in PilotEdge, you can use the My Flight route, or you can just say, we have the weather, or we have custom weather. And that way, the controller knows that you have the accurate information, so all your altimeter settings, and you're aware of the winds that are affecting your plane. Okay, so we're just going to say we have the weather. So that's number 3. Number 4 is clearance, and this is where the actual clearance we're asking air traffic control. We're asking John Wayne if we can leave and what procedure to take. And this is going to be very dependent on the flight that you're doing. So if I can pull up the map here, if we are flying north, we're going to tell them we're looking for a northwestern departure. If we're flying down the coast here, we're going to look for a southeastern departure, and northeastern and northwestern. If you have a destination airport, tell them that. If you are staying in the pattern, tell them that. If you're just flying local and going to come back soon, tell them that. You want to keep it pretty succinct. You don't want to give them, like every bit of information, but just enough that they know what you're doing and what direction you want to leave in. Because that's what they need to know is what direction to send you. If you just say departure, they're going to ask where you're going, and they're not going to know what heading to give you. So it's important to know ahead of time where you are flying or what you are doing, and they'll give you a departure based on that information. So again, if you're staying local, if you're staying in the pattern, if you're departing to another runway or to another airport, it's good to know what direction that airport is in, and let them know, we're departing to Fullerton, to the northbound departure en route to Fullerton, or southwest or southeast departure en route to San Diego, something along those lines. So today we're just going to tell them a southeast departure down the coast for a local flight. And it can be kind of that casual as well, like looking for a southeast departure down the coast for a local flight. And then they'll issue our procedure, our departure procedure. And that consists of 4 things. You've got heading, altitude restriction, departure frequency, and squawk code. So they're going to give us 4 pieces of information, and I'm going to write them down in my notebook as he says them, so I can read it back correctly to him and confirm that I did get the correct information. That's very important. You've got to read back those four distinct items to him or her and confirm that you got it. There are some Class Charlie departures where they're only going to give you 2 of them. They're going to give you a departure frequency and a squawk code. And it depends on what the particulars are of that airport. Sometimes they'll give you a straight out departure at or below, so they're not going to give you an actual heading. They're just going to give you like just fly straight out, or right crosswind departure or something like that. So whatever that directional cue they give you or procedure, read that back to them. So if it's straight out, say straight out departure. If it's left down or left crosswind, say left crosswind, and then continue with what they're telling you. So okay, we have our frequencies, and we know that clearance is 118, So we dial that into navcom, and I'm just going to use the 2. I'm not going to put in the now or the com 2 in here. I'm just going to use 1. So we've got clearance is 118.0 and ground is 120.8. So we're going to get 120.8 queued up in here. And those are the only 2 that we're going to need right now. We're gonna adjust that once we get a little further along here. Okay, so now let's fire up the radios. So I just hit on our audio panel here. I just turned that off, so it just kills all the audio. So now we should be hearing any traffic in the area. It's quiet. Okay, so I'm going to cold call. If the frequency is quiet like it is now, you could just ask for the full request. But a lot of times in real life, you've got a lot of traffic, a lot of stuff going on, and clearance delivery might need a second to prepare to give you your clearance. So cold calling just means you tell them who you are and that you have a request. And then I will try to go as slow as I can so you can hear what I will say to him in response once he okays me to give my request, basically. So here we go. We're going to tell them who we are and what we want, and that's a VFR departure request. John Wayne clearance, Cessna Skyhawk, November 204 Lima Echo with VFR request.
For 204 Lima Echo, John Wayne clearance. Good evening. Go ahead.
Yes, looking for a southeastern departure along the coast for a local flight for Lima Echo.
204 Lima Echo, roger. On departure, fly heading 150. Maintain VFR at or below 2,400. Departure frequency 128.1, squawk 5445.
5445. Okay, now I'm going to read those 4 things back to him. That's departure heading 150 at or below 2,400 feet. Departure frequency 128.1 and squawking 5445 for Lima Echo.
Or for Lima Echo, read back, Rick.
Okay. So one thing we didn't do is we did not tell him the weather. Sometimes clearance and delivery needs that, sometimes they don't, but we do need to, once we get over to ground, we will tell the ground controller that we do have the weather. So there's a couple ways when he says read back is correct. I could have responded and said, thank you, going to ground, and just let him know. That's a little bit more something you'd want to do in the real world. Here, it is the same guy, and that's a very important thing to realize in PilotEdge and in this kind of sim environment, is we've got the one guy that's controlling clearance, ground, tower, and approach. In the real world, we might be talking to 4 different people, but in PilotEdge, you try to treat each one of those transmissions as if it's a separate person, because in the real world it would be. Now, the controller, who I actually know, knows that it's me. And when I go to ground, he knows that it's me, and he knows what I'm doing, he knows where I am, he knows everything. But I need to assume that he does not know, because in the real world, he would not know. So I'm going to treat this like he does not know. Okay, so once we have our departure information,
1671 Quebec, so California.
we can pull out, and we're gonna stop right here, because we cannot cross these lines until we have clearance from ground. But before we do that, this is something you can do when you're still parked there. But
1671 Quebec, so California.
we're gonna move our heading bug to 150. That is the departure heading that we were given, 150. So we're going to put that bug right there, and I'm going to put in my transponder code, which was 5445, and hit on. Turns on. So now the tower is going to see me. So he knows exactly where I am. He can see me on there. So when I call up and say, 204 Lima Echo. He is going to know where we are, but I'm still going to tell him
1671 Quebec, radar contact 3
where
miles
we are.
west of the San Bernardino Airport. Altitude indicates 3,600. The Ontario altimeter 2980.
Okay, so we're just going to give him a little breathing room there for that other plane, which we
671
can't.
Quebec, thanks.
We can't hear the
Westbound
plane,
transition
but we can
approved
hear
remain north
him.
of the Ontario Airport at all times.
Okay, so now we're going to go to ground. It's the ground frequency, 120.8. So now we're going to go to ground and we're going to get our taxi clearance. And this is where you're going to want to have a taxi chart if you're unfamiliar with the airport, because he's going to give you taxiways and you need to know where those go.
Vegas clearance, American 225, IFR to
It's not as complicated as it sounds, but you do kind of, if you have
Las Vegas
a
clearance,
knowledge
good evening,
of the
Burbank
airport facility,
OG departure,
it'll make it
wake,
much easier.
Venezuela.
So
Climb
have a
via
chart
6,
open on a
walk 3124.
different screen, on a tablet, have the airport so you can see if he says, you know, Alpha Kilo Charlie
American
Hotel,
225, clear to the
that you
Burbank
can
Airport,
visually
OG
see where that
departure,
is.
Wake transition, then is filed.
So you can
Climb via
navigate
6,
that.
Walk 3124 for American 225. How you doing, Goldie?
American 225, read back correct. Doing well, man. You?
Good.
So
348 Mike Echo, fly heading 090.
John Wayne Ground, Skyhawk, November 204 Lima Echo at Dove Street parking. We have custom weather and request taxi to midfield run-up.
4180 November Yankee, SoCal, thank you. 204 Lima Echo, John Wayne Ground, good evening, taxi midfield run up by Alpha and Hotel.
Midfield run-up via Alpha and Hotel for Lima Echo. So you always read back what he says when they give you distinct procedures like that. You always read back the, you know, if he says cross runway 20 left, you read back cross runway 20 left. If he tells you to taxi via Alpha and Hotel, you read back Alpha and Hotel. The reality is we're going to peel off a little bit before Hotel.
Santa Maria Ground, 063 Lima Sierra, IFR to John Wayne.
We are going to not deviate too much
623
from
Lima
that.
Sierra, Santa Maria Ground, good evening, I'll request standby.
Okay, so this is Alpha. We can see that on our chart, and we can also see that on the runway signs for your given airport or scenery pack. It'll have that on there. And we're going to peel off right here. This is the midfield run-up.
348 Mike Echo, 3 miles from FE, turn right, heading
This-
150,
this
maintain
is
3,000.
not really charted very well.
Localizer, cleared LDA, runway 20, right approach.
I apologize for the braking. I have some weird binding issues on the brakes. Okay, so we were just on Alpha there, and you can see that Hotel
623 Lima Sierra, clear to
is
the
right
John
here.
Wayne Airport.
So what he was
flight
telling me to do is to
100,
go to
expect
Alpha
radar vectors, San Marcos,
and then
Villa
turn
Ware,
left
Venice,
here
Files,
and come
maintain
back, but
5,000, expect 7,000,
it's-
5 minutes after departure.
you just come right off of
Departure
Alpha
frequency 120.55,
And we're gonna cross
3353.
Hotel here. So here's where you're going to do your run-up. And again, if you're trying to, you know, cut down on the time, you can kind of skip the step in the
Clear to
sim.
the John Wayne Airport on departure flight heading 100.
If you're using this to practice,
filed, maintain 5, expect
know,
7 after 5.
do the run-up.
Departure 120.55 squawk.
even if it's just like an abridged
353,
run-up, like you just
63
kind of
Lima Sierra.
stop
623
here
Lima
and
Sierra, read back up.
check the mags. You know, we know that nothing is going to break on this plane. It's going to run fine, so it's okay. But we're going to just do a little baby one. Okay, so if we do a run-up, we ask for a taxi to the run-up. If we're not going to do a run-up and we just want to go to the runway, we just ask for a taxi to the active. Is one way to do it. There's a couple of different ways to say that, but you can say, you know, request taxi to the active. So he knows we have the weather, so we don't need to tell him that again. This isn't the first time we've called up, but we still want to start with our full registration, full N number. So we'll tell him that we are finished at midfield
Santa
run-up,
Maria Ground, Aero
and we're going to
63 Lima
request
Sierra,
taxi
East
to the
ramp with
active,
Golf, ready
and then
for taxi.
repeat what he says
623
back
Lima
to
Sierra,
us.
Santa Maria Ground, runway 30, taxi via Victor and Alpha.
Again, that's important to repeat it back. And if it's easier before you get to know an airport to
30
have the chart
623
open,
Sierra.
then definitely do that. John Wayne Ground, Skyhawk, November 204 Lima Echo, all finished at midfield run-up. Request taxi to the active.
204 Lima Echo, runway 20 left at Kilo, taxi via Charlie.
20 left at Kilo, taxi via Charlie for Lima Echo. So that was a little bit different, and you just kind of, you want to make sure that it doesn't have to be perfect, and it's going to change. There's going to be some deviations in it a little bit. So what he'll sometimes say is taxi 20 left via Charlie and Kilo. And I would say 20 left via Charlie Kilo. So he kind of flipped it and said 20 left at Kilo via Charlie. Just a different way of saying it. And again, once you do this a few times and are comfortable with where you need to be and what the different taxiways are called, when they throw something different in there like that at you, it's simple. You can understand what they're telling you to do, because essentially these procedures are the same every single time, and you don't want to get in the habit of not writing them down or just going off of memory. But they are basically exactly the same, and the same with real life. Like this is exactly what the real life controllers at John Wayne are going to tell you.
Mike Echo, connect John Wayne Tower 126.8.
Doing this exact flight. So again, I apologize for the nose dives there. Okay, so now that we're here,
John Wayne Tower, Skyhawk 348, Mike
we're
Echo,
going
inbound
to
the LDA 20 right.
We're done
348
taxiing.
Mike Echo, John
We're
Wayne
at the
Tower
hold short.
210 at 5, runway 20 right, clear to land.
We're at the hold short
20
line.
right, clear to land.
And we cannot cross that line until the tower has told us. So we're done taxiing. So we're done with the ground. So we can dial in the tower, which is 119.9. So we're going to put that into the active, and then our departure frequency, because we were given a departure frequency, is 128.1. So we're going to have that ready to go, so when the tower calls us up after we've departed, we just flip right to departure, and we'll tell them where we are by stating who we are and what our altitude is. They know where we are because we have our squawk code, but they want to know what altitude we are at. So we can kind of check the airport, check for traffic, and everything looks clear. So now we are ready to call up the tower. And he's going to give us some wind information as well sometimes. You don't have to read that back. Once we get clear to land, that's the only thing that matters, is clear to take off. Or excuse me, land, not land, clear to take off. We don't have to read back everything that he says to us. He's just giving us the information if we need it, which is like wind or any other advisory stuff. If it's traffic notifications, we want to acknowledge those. But if it's just winds 208 at 5, altimeter blah blah blah, clear to take off. All I gotta say is clear to take off. Okay, so here we go. So we need to tell them
180 November
where
Yankee,
we
connect
are
John Wayne Tower 126.8.
and what we're doing. Now it's kind of assumed that we're holding short, we're ready to take off. He's expecting us to be departing, so you could say holding short, 20 left at Kilo, ready for departure, ready to take off. It kind of depends on what your flight instructor says, but I don't think takeoff is the correct terminology. But anyway, so
John Wayne Tower, Skyhawk 180 November Yankees on a 7-mile final runway 20 right.
okay,
180 November Yankee, John Wayne Tower, good evening, wind 210 at 5, runway 20 right, number 2, clear to land, following a Skyhawk on a 4-mile final.
Okay, so we got some traffic coming in, which
Number
is
2 clear to land, runway 20 right, Skyhawk 180
20 right. That does not concern us, so we should be okay. John Wayne Tower, good evening. Skyhawk, November 204 Lima Echo, holding short, runway 20 left at Kilo.
204 Lima Echo, John Wayne Tower, wind 210 at 5, runway 20 left at Kilo, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff for Lima Echo. So again, I didn't have to tell him,
348 Mike Echo, be a Skyhawk
ready to take
departing
off.
parallel prior to your route.
and he's letting
Roger
that
that,
traffic.
Mike Echo.
He's letting that traffic know. Oops.
Santa Maria Tower, Arrows 23 Lima Sierra, holding short 30, ready for takeoff.
Got to remember the
623
checklist.
Lima
and
Sierra, Santa Maria Tower, wind 280 at 10.
Take it a little bit wide.
Takeoff.
Okay, so
30 clear for takeoff, 62.
definitely roll out onto the runway a little bit nicer than that. And we're full power. Airspeed is alive. And little 172 pops right up. Fly runway heading for a little bit until you're clear kind of, you know, buildings or stuff that might be in the way. Like, we don't want to turn on to those buildings right now, but we do want to turn on to them, turn on to our heading as soon as we can. That's, you know, within safe distance of any obstructions. So there's 150 right there, and we need to be at or below 2400.
204 Lima Echo, radar contact, connect SoCal departure.
Going to departure for Lima Echo, thank you. Okay, so now we're told by the tower, we're going to switch over, and we're going to tell departure just our altitude, who we are and what our altitude is, and where we're, not where we're going, but where our altitude's going. So here we go. SoCal departure, good evening. Skyhawk, November 204 Lima Echo, 600 and climbing.
204 Lima Echo, SoCal approach, good evening, John Wayne altimeter 29990.
29990 for Lima Echo, thank you. You don't have to repeat that back, but sometimes it's good to acknowledge that. Now ours is different, so we're at 2989. It's close, but it was a little bit different. So we're well below 2400. We're kind of drifting a little bit, but we're on our departure heading. And if you look here, we're basically going to get released once we clear the airspace, and we'll be good to go. So they're just keeping an eye on us as we depart the class
204 Lima Echo,
airspace.
resume on navigation, appropriate VFR altitudes.
Resuming O navigation, VFR altitudes for Lima Echo, thank you. And just confirm that we're cleared. So that was a little bit on the quick side. Sometimes they'll let you get out a little bit more. It depends on traffic as well. But that's pretty much it. Once he says resume
2648
O navigation,
ground, right 29 right, taxi via Alpha and Julia.
you're clear. You're good to go. Now I think we're defaulting to flight following, which means we're going to get traffic advisories and we're still squawking our code here. If we were going no flight following, if we wanted to cancel radar services, we would squawk 1200.
For 348 Mike Echo, taxi to the right via Bravo.
And we would be VFR, and we would just follow the rules of VFR flying and stay out of airspace and
Excellent.
and all that good stuff. But that is not the case. So that is it. That's how you depart a Class Charlie airspace. Now, if this is the first time you've seen that, you're probably like, what the hell just happened? And a couple months ago, I was thinking the same thing. What the hell just happened? And it really only did take a couple of months. And that's, you know, not a couple of months of solid flying and doing this. You know, I watched a few videos, some real world flying, and just practicing doing this on the simulator. And that's what PilotEdge enables you to do, is practice this stuff and get really, really good at it. So if you are flying in the real world or learning how to fly, you can use all the knowledge that you gained doing this in the simulator, and now you don't have to think about it when you're in the plane spending $100, $150, $200, $300 per hour. You're not using that time.
20 right, they're trolling you.
You're not using that valuable time learning stuff that you could learn on the simulator. So now this is second nature. Departing a Class Charlie airport, departing my home airport, it happens to be a PilotEdge controlled airport.
For 204 Lima Echo, do you want flight following, or you want to find your own from here?
We can cancel radar services for now for Lima Echo.
For Lima Echo, roger, radar services terminated, squawk and maintain VFR for exchange group.
Squawking VFR and maintaining appropriate VFR altitudes for Lima Echo. So again, yeah, we were kind of defaulting to radar services there, but now we are squawking VFR, and we're on our own. So to him, all we look like is just a thing. He doesn't know anything about us other than roughly where we are. We're under no obligation to talk to SoCal Approach, Departure, whoever, until we're ready to land or we're coming up to an airspace. Then we will contact the appropriate frequency, whether it's, you know, a approach or a specific airport. And that's all stuff that you can learn on those charts on SkyVector.
0 November Yankee cross runway 20 left at hotel,
And
and
part
taxi to
of
the ramp via Alpha.
flight
Internet
planning.
district.
So the key to doing this is having a plan, and that makes everything easier. If you know where you're flying and you have the frequencies ready to go. By the way, look at how amazing the scenery looks. If you know where you're going and who you need to talk to, it makes all of this much easier, because you don't have to fumble around. And for sure on PilotEdge, they appreciate you being prepared. The real world, you know, 100%. Real world, it's a much bigger deal, so you're more likely to think about it in advance for a lot longer and plan and know what's going on. This, you can just go, hey, I'm going to go for a flight. Hop on the server and take off.
Climb and maintain
So
7,000.
try to be as prepared as possible, and it'll make this go much smoother. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope I was able to help in any way. If you did like the video, please subscribe. I'll try to do a little bit more of these connected to PilotEdge and, you know, kind of
Las Vegas
what you
ground
can get
runway
out of it,
26 right,
connecting
taxi
it to
via
real world flying. It's a great tool to, again, cut down on that you know, hourly rate of flight time, learning stuff that you can learn from the comfort of your own office. So yeah, subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you liked it.
26481 Torrance
And,
Tower, runway 29 right, clear for takeoff. Make
yeah.
right crosswind.
Have fun in whatever your aviation endeavors are, whether it's just simulation or simulation in real world or just real world. Definitely nothing wrong with doing that either. Thank you again, guys, for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.